and gentlemen, welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I'm, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my man Myron.
Can I get a go dogs?
Go dogs.
Yes, the national championship I've always wanted.
Yeah, man, that's if we had a non-wrestling segment, that would probably be it this week, but that is not the case this week because we were loaded with questions that we wanted to get to. May not even have a regular segment. We'll see. More to find out, right?
No.
Lots of stuff going on, lots of changes. We even discussed one specifically that you would notice only on patreon.com/tappedoutpod
Yes.
before we started rolling. Again, that is patreon.com/tappedoutpod. Get the show early. Some of these extras we're talking about, like I said, I've touched base with a few wrestlers this past weekend, so I think that's going to be a go. Maybe this week or next week. We shall see.
Awesome.
Yeah, lots of stuff going on, man. But we got a loaded show.
Yes.
Tons of stuff to go through.
And got some insider questions too.
Yeah, lots of stuff going down. So, man, let's without further ado. I know this is the fastest we've ever probably got to the topics, but let's jump straight into the questions, man.
A gentleman named Gary from Atlanta. The WWE releases. Why do you think they're happening? Ugh.
Well, this one is a long, complicated question. I know I teased this a little bit about what I thought because as my brain went to working, lots of things were coming up.
You're a businessman.
Try to be. That's I know that's not a popular take in wrestling a lot of times, is to be a business person when you're thinking about it. It's more about the art of wrestling, which I completely understand and appreciate. But look, with the last wave of releases, I know William Regal was let go, Road Dogg was let go.
Yeah,
again.
seriously.
Samoa
All the
Joe.
Armstrongs.
Yeah, it was one blade to the Armstrongs. Now look, I get it. I always admire somebody like Regal's approach. Look, he was, first of all, let's go with this. William Regal was there 21 years.
Through all of his demons too.
Well,
there were years where Regal had issues, and they kept him and they took care of him. So
in a corporate environment, how many people last 21 years?
Shit, I've made it 11 years with one company and almost 13 with another one, and it gets taxing. It's very taxing. And our generation of people move around more.
It's acceptable. They just move and move and move and move and move.
Yeah.
So, we're at a massive number at this point as far as total number of releases, 80, 200, blah, 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 hundreds and whatever in the last 2 years, if you want to go with it, since the whole, vid era.
Staff, office people, on-air people, everything's been hit pretty much.
Over the last 18 to 20, 24 months, man, so much has changed, right? So many things that have completely been revamped. Companies are restructuring. They're just having that redoing the way having to rethink the way they do things. Let's put it that way. Yeah. So at the grand scheme of things, I do believe there's an end game. I think total for all three rosters, when it's SmackDown, Raw, and NXT, man, I'm thinking somewhere between 200 and 250 people. Is all they need.
Wow, that's pretty light. Do you think they can do it?
I think they can, and I think there's a few ways they're going to do it. Let's and we're going to chop this into pieces because first and foremost, to answer your thing, how is NXT, right? Because it's always been about the bringing in all these talents, and look, you'll have developmental deals. They're not contracts, folks. I hate to be this way, but what did they say? Some of those developmental deals were $45,000.
I don't know, man, but I checked out some 205 Live earlier, and I didn't know who anybody was.
Right.
It's like, here, come in, have a shot. Here, come in. There's your cup of coffee.
But look, here, because, and that's because I think what you're seeing is NXT is clearly now built in Vince's vision, not Triple H. Triple H wanted another brand. He wanted another promotion. He wanted a alternative brand, right?
His legacy, basically.
I think that's correct. I have something I want to say about that, but I literally had to ask our attorney, is this even legal to say? Which I may get there, we may not. I'll leave that one alone for now.
Oh,
I think what the NXT brand will become is the whole 2.0. It will just focus on the NIL amateur athletes, some second gen people. I think they just don't want indie guys anymore. Like they don't want, I'll there's more layers to that. I think they're going to use MLW. I think they're going to use NWA, Impact, Ring of Honor, because we'll discuss them in a little bit. AEW, even, by the way, people don't want to hear that. They'll use them as a feeder system. Like they'll let
Why
you
not?
go. If you're not somebody like, they'll look, if they see somebody over there that's like, oh, that guy's really good, we could do something with him, maybe go get him.
Yeah, like NBC and Fox talking about MJF, like seeing people recruited out of other promotions, which we're going to start seeing. Face it or not, we're going to start seeing AEW people go to Vince. You're going to start seeing MLW people. You're going to start seeing folks not move up to get into developmental. They're going to be bringing people in like they did AJ. Look at AJ. AJ spent all his time working all over the world. He was perfectly polished. They brought him in. He was ready to go. That's what they're going to be looking for.
But I think that may be the exception. So the reason why I say that is I think the bait, because you remember, wasn't there a point there were like 400 people under contract or something? It was some crazy
number.
It was
an insane number.
And they're going to shave it down. So, we've got to, why are they, and that's the question, right? Everybody wants to say like, oh, it's all about money. It's all about money. I think there's some truth to that. But not completely. And I think this is where it's something I've heard, but I'm going to speculate on something that I heard. So I'm not saying this is happening. I believe this is why this is happening. Like first and foremost, everybody's initial thing is, oh, it's all being done so they can be sold. Okay. Yes, but that's not the whole pie, right? That's a piece of the pie. They want to be more profitable so they can, look more appealing in a sale.
Yeah.
I am more so convinced today that the sale is going to happen to NBC. I don't think it's, Disney. I think it's NBC. They're so in bed with, Comcast, NBC, Universal,
Peacock,
that parent company. They're just so, and look, people think I'm crazy. Unless Fox backs a huge, when I say huge, even bigger than the last dump truck of money they backed up to them. I think SmackDown's going back to a, NBC, Comcast, Universal like company, whether it be USA, whether it's Peacock, could it be different. NBC? It could be. If they think that if they're happy with the numbers they see over on Fox, why would NBC not say like, we'll take it and especially if they buy it and they own it?
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is they're not 100%. I think the steps are so far in the sale process that I think there are certain moves being made at the behest of NBC.
So you're saying NBC is coaching them, getting it ready for them to take over, and they're going to have things in place like employees.
I think that's the first step. You're correct. I think that because here's the thing where when I say it's not about getting the payroll down for the sake of getting it down to be more profitable, I think it was getting down. I think NBC will probably be more comfortable with them being employees, and that's where they're eventually going. Now, I know that's blasphemy. I get it. I think it's either going to be employee route or it's going to be SAG route. Like NBC is completely comfortable with dealing with SAG, with the Screen Actors Guild. I mean, and it's just something I think what NBC would want in this purchase, they don't want the independent contract. I think they would want essentially to be able to control the situation completely.
Okay, so this would be like you, for lack of a better way to put it, you would buy the NFL, but you'd own all the players.
No,
you're buying a contract.
Because you're making the mistake. You're making the mistake I think everybody makes.
Okay.
You're thinking it from a sports perspective. I look at it more of you're buying,
Law and Order.
You're buying Law and Order SVU, and you own all the contracts for all of the actors. They have 5-year deals or whatever. You own those contracts, etc. So I think it's one of two things.
Go to court.
Me personally, I like the Screen Actors Guild take versus employee.
Yeah, because I think they'd probably be better taken care of, to be honest.
Well, so let's go two routes. Let's go down the path of employee. look, we're independent contractor versus employee, benefits, etc. All the things the employer that they have to pay if you have an employee versus a contractor. There's the increased cost causing the reduction needed. You got to get down to a lower number because you can't pay them all to be employees. But if you get them down to 200, we can absorb some of that. They're going to go up. Screen Actors Guild route, things like that, I agree. Yes, I think the same thing, because if they become members of Screen Actors Guilds, they're going to be unioned and they're going to have rules about pay. Like, you have to have so many breaks and so much vacation, blah, 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 blah. So all of those costs will be increased as well. Same thing. I particularly think from, those cuts are going to be that, first of all, I think it's great that they would get vacation, insurance, pensions, 401k, opportunities for other network shows or film movies, all under this parent company. The Screen Actors Guild would help with them. That would help get them gigs outside of wrestling if they were, so that's just kind of, to me.
Oh, you keep saying gigs outside of wrestling. What makes you think that would be an issue?
Well, here's the thing. So the original problem, this is part of in my opinion, again, me just trying to and dude, look, I could be totally wrong. I could be totally full of shit. It wouldn't be the first time, but I just think there's some merit here. I think Bray Wyatt was possibly the first eye opener. Most of your contracts, think about this. When you're under WWE contract, you can't take gigs outside of WWE without permission. Like, they can turn down things for you, which is part of why, by the way, I think they have to get rid of the independent contractor thing and make it either employee or Screen Actors Guild, whatever type of thing. Okay. So me personally, like, he had to be let go out of his contract or given permission to do one of the two. Now, I'm not saying, listen, there's lots of things about his contract, and I don't even want to get into the, they employed him all the way through his issues, and then when he was healed and he could work again, they let him go. Everybody thought that was a bad move. Look, they held him while he couldn't work and wasn't clear. Or he didn't want to work too. He was having his mental issues, which is great that they even kept him on. Once he was available, he could go work anywhere else he wanted to. Then they let him go. Did they let him go so he could work on the movie and figure out what he wanted to do when he was done? Yes. Look, I know rumors are he's re-signed. We've all heard that, and it's been for more money. Because one of the other things we're hearing on a lot of the contracts now are what? No more, the downside guarantees are up, but all the incentives are gone. Like, because there is no more pay-per-view bonus. You got to remember that. There's no more pay-per-view bonus. Yeah. They don't do those. There's, I've even heard tale of some of the merchandising deals being pulled. Like, they make the merch. You get a higher downside guarantee, boom. But, there's lots of pieces of the puzzle. There are still guys who have chunks of their merch, but that's guys at the top. That's going to be your Romans and, the guys who are really moving merch.
Cena.
Exactly. Brock, et cetera, et cetera. If you're, mid-card or down, you just get a downside guarantee, you're done. So a lot of that seems to be like, hey, let's just make you more of an employee. You get a straight pay. You're going to work this amount, this, and this, and this.
See, I'm used to that. I can deal with that. I'm used to show up X, do this for this long, go home. And that makes sense to me. The performing stuff I've never understood, just because I've never performed.
Well, yeah. Look, I think that, it just kind of depends on, and NBC again is going to be comfortable probably with both ways.
Well, yeah.
I could honestly see them more comfortable with going, the SAG route.
I mean, hell, even porn has contract people. I don't know if anybody in independent contracts as a whole industry anymore.
Yeah, that's a tough, it's really, who knows? I mean, but so my take is simple as this. I think they're going to try to make them employees, and I think you're going to see lots of, and I'm going to address another one of my there's this. When they want a big time name, if they reduce that payroll, look, we just heard about Kevin Owens signing a ridiculous, amount of money for his, for his new deal.
Yeah.
Well, there's less people. They shaved and I hate to be this guy, but they they deemed potentially, I'm assuming, is it a hard realization to take that when they looked at the grand scheme of things, they looked at Kyle O'Reilly, Bobby Fish, and Adam Cole and went, we think, the WWE, not me, WWE said, we think Kevin Owens is worth getting rid of those three and just taking their money and giving it to Owens because we see it.
How many BFABs would it cost you to get you to stay?
Seriously. I mean, okay, so Hit Row. They were like, Hit Row gone. We think, keeping Kevin Owens is worth eliminating Hit Row and taking that money and putting it to Kevin. But here's also the other thing. Do they think it's worth just killing Hit Row for the entire year to say, Goldberg, we need you at a Crown Jewel, or Goldberg, we need you at SummerSlam. We're going to pay you $1 million for that one match. Do they think Goldberg's one appearance at SummerSlam is worth more than Hit Row the rest of, Hit Row the rest of the year?
Well, now you're talking numbers that would be easier to understand for NBC instead of this, because wrestling is a very cryptic business that people aren't really allowed inside of. And you're going to, you couldn't take over a wrestling business without getting smartened up. Even in today's thing, you still would need to be smartened up about who this and this deal and that kind of stuff. Okay. So yeah, making it more of like a regular business makes sense if you're especially going to sell it.
And I think what you're going to see more of, and I think we're going to see this in multiple, you're going to hear this 3 other times in this show with the questions. I looked through, I'm like, this is going to be a running theme, I think, with WWE.
Mm-hmm.
So Mickie James, it was announced that she's going to be in the Rumble. They're like, oh my God, yes. why would, okay, look, there's many layers of that. Trust me, there's many, many things, and maybe we'll try to get to some of those. But what would it take for pay? Like, we've heard of other names and et cetera, that they're talking about bringing in, right?
Yeah.
I think this becomes the new norm. Like, if WWE is willing to work with other promotions, like if my argument was something simple, if WWE made a phone call to Japan and said, hey, we want to bring in, pick a wrestler, I don't give a shit. Or here's a better one. Hey, we're going to do a thing with AJ. He's getting jumped by this group or whatever. They call Impact and say, hey, can we use Anderson and Gallows for like a big pay-per-view? We need them for 2 weeks on Raw, and we need them on the big pay-per-view because we want them to show up to be, and actually, you know what? We'll save that. We're going to use them on one Raw and then the pay-per-view because they're going to show up as his backup for who he needs.
Like AEW did with Impact.
Something to that effect.
Kenny Omega.
But I mean, as far as like they're going to show up and their buddy going to help their buddy. And guess what? All the money you've saved, you just sling a ton of money to make it happen.
And especially in a world where you would the future, you'd have to give somebody a contract with health insurance or something, or you could walk in a one-off contract with their promotion.
You're contracted through Impact. You're there. You work for them. We're just willing to literally throw, because Impact doesn't have exclusive contracts. Remember, technically they do. A totally different story, but I'm not going down that rabbit hole. If Impact allowed them to do it, and said, hey, we'll give you $250,000. We need you for 2 nights. If AEW got a phone call from WWE and said, hey, we want to use Chris Jericho for 1 night at the Rumble. Jericho, we'll offer you $1 million to work the 1 night at the Rumble. $500,000. Give you a weird number, but it's a big number, and it's got to be a big number. Why? How pissed would the wrestler be if the other promotion said no?
Exactly. And that brings us into our next question. Our friend Joseph from Chandler, Arizona asks, with Mickie James entering the Rumble and rumors of men's surprises from outside the WWE, who do you think would be fun entrances that are at least possible?
Well, I'll let you we can kind of go over several of them here, but
we'll go through this list of 5. We found a nice little article, had 5 lists. We're going to go with that. Okay. 1, Will Ospreay. No.
But again, okay, A, you don't have to pay him as much. But 2, it would be the one thing I think they're trying to accomplish with some of these. You're getting a buzz from the internet who used to say you would never do XYZ. You are now doing XYZ. I think
that would be the only reason I would bring Ospreay in.
If Will Ospreay came in that ring and nobody was left standing in that ring but Finn Balor, the internet wrestling community would lose their shit.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
I agree 100%.
Stuff like that. Or if, insert AJ. AJ's in there and Will Ospreay comes in, the people would lose their shit. That's just my opinion.
But who would lose their shit? Only people that know who he is would lose their shit.
But that's my point. I think if you did that, that's who you're going after. But that's also why the pay is smaller than one of our later options on the list.
Matt Cardona is a definite negative.
I know you don't think so, but I completely disagree. He's
Why?
On this list. He's one of the most likely. Because he's completely independent. He can do whatever the hell he wants. And if WWE wanted to just say, I mean, think about it. Matt, come in. We'll pay you $100,000 to do the one show.
I don't think he'd be interested. I think that would break the entire character he's built right now. Just my take on it.
Everybody has a price. You just have to find that number.
That would be the way it would do it, but I don't think it's worthwhile. How about Nick Aldis?
Same exact concept. I think, Aldis would be a very niche inside of a niche market, but I think...
Well, you already got his wife.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I think that's why it fit. When we saw it, we're like, oh, yeah, well, maybe part of her deal was not only to use me, maybe you also use my husband.
Yeah.
Not a bad call.
Adam Scherr, also known as Braun.
Okay, but that's... I don't think it's him. Have I told you that I just have every intention to believe he's showing up February 2nd? On Dynamite. Anyway. I just have that Ring of Honor, that people that showed up, that little clique. I think it's EC3, Braun Strowman, somebody else I've heard rumor of. I'm not going to say it yet because I don't know if I can. But I think there's a group coming. I think they're in it, so I think he's coming. But whether he's under contract or I don't know. But that would be one hell of a if Braun Strowman returned for one night.
And then hopped over and did the other promotion the next night or 2 nights later.
When's the Royal Rumble?
The 29th.
Okay, so it won't even be a week later. Yeah, I think he would show up in AEW on Dynamite.
Oh, wow.
That would be just crazy. But yeah, I think so.
And here's the one I believe. There's no reason not to. Bring Chris Jericho back.
Here's the
one
funny
night
thing.
For the Rumble.
What if you brought in not only Chris Jericho, you brought in Painmaker Chris Jericho, not Y2J.
Oh,
like he wants to completely do, or do you think he just does this straight, like not he doesn't want to be Y2J for any stretch of the imagination. So you gotta like think about that. Judas playing at a Rumble.
Yeah, play Judas, but don't bring in Painmaker. That's
saying, man. But yeah, I think Judas coming through it would be worth, because it's the beginning of the never say never universe that I think they want to create.
If it's not Jericho, honestly, I would think it would be Moose. Okay? Because if you can't get Jericho and you're going to work with Impact, you bring in Moose, who has an upside.
Well, we didn't use Moose because everything's leading us to be told that he's going to be there. That's every word I've heard is that Moose is coming. I mean, that was part of probably the trade to get Impact, was to get Mickie James.
Get these shows off Saturday nights. Put them back on Sundays. Don't mess with my indie wrestling on Saturday nights. I mean, seriously. It would be 2 weeks from this weekend for the Rumble. It's going to be run on a Saturday night. Southern Fried's probably going to run that night. I don't like that. Here's
the thing, though. You can watch it on Sunday when you get home. You can watch it Sunday day.
Yeah, I can watch it on Sunday. Yes.
And guess what?
But
you ain't got to go. I mean, that way it doesn't make you stay up late till when you have to go to work on Monday. Or just stay up late and watch it when you get it home on Saturday. I mean, that's the whole.
I don't like all this thinking. I just don't want them on Saturdays anymore.
Look, we had a whole debate last night about why the college football championship should not be on Monday. It should be played on Saturday. That's ridiculous,
dude. We were up so late last night.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, I went from cheering and running and laid down and couldn't go to sleep because I was so hyped
my
up.
wife saw the first half. She fell asleep during the second quarter. The end.
Well, I didn't have to work today.
Yeah, but she's just that way. I mean, she wanted to see it. So literally, I woke her up when there was a minute left in the game. It's like, hey, they just won. She's like, what? What's over? I'm like, no, it's literally, you can watch the game end. I was like, but anyway. But yeah, I think Rumble. I think it's Moose most likely. I would love to see Jericho. No, and again, it goes back to our first original topic. You've got more money freed up to throw at something like this to make it happen. And we've always said, I think at this point, WWE is not a wrestling company, so they don't need wrestlers. No offense to Adam Cole, Bobby Fish. It's like they don't need any of those people. And, to go to the Regal topic, look, I love Steven Regal. I have since WCW, but the argument's simple. If they're not scouting the indies for talent anymore, they don't need him.
Mm.
So you let him go, you get out of it. And lots of people don't understand. I think a lot of these contracts, they're letting people out of those contracts, releasing them, whatever you want to call it. If they can find a new home for them, with a new position or whatever, they can restructure it, they can bring them back. There's different takes to that. But sometimes you got to run it like a business. And in Myron, if you have a business, you know what you should have? You should have a website. If you don't believe me, ask our friends over at pair.com. If you have a business, you need a website. What's the best way to get a website up and running? Choose a website hosting company that makes it simple, like Pair Networks. Pair has over 20 years of experience managing the entire digital ecosystem for thousands of online businesses all around the world. Pair makes it easy for you with do-it-yourself website building tools and features, including simple drag-and-drop page design. And they've guaranteed U.S.-based support technicians ready to help you whenever you need it, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Right now, when you sign up with Pair Networks, you'll receive 1 free month of web hosting. See for yourself how easy it is to build your website for free. Visit pair.com/free to get your first month of web hosting for free by using the code QUICKSTART. That's pair.com/free, promo code QUICKSTART to get started today. Well, man, we appreciate our sponsors over at pair.com again. Look, like I said, does anybody take a business seriously if they don't have a real website anymore?
No,
I don't think anybody should take anybody seriously who doesn't have a real website at this point, because it's nothing. It doesn't cost anything.
No, I mean, you've always had a website. From the start of this, you opened up a website.
Anyway, but hey, keep it rolling, brother, because we got a good friend.
Our dear friend, Fake Tony Schiavone. His name is Rafe. He's from Hendersonville, North Carolina. If you had your hand in Walter's next move, I don't want to have my hand in Walter at all. What would you choose and why? Realistically, what do you see as his next move? Okay, now this is a good question because Walter is very popular here at the podcast.
Very much so. I think we like him just because he's like, we joke around out about it. Like, he's just an old school wrestler. Like, he reminds us of like a Dick Slater, Dick Murdoch. It was just the old, like the Bruiser, Dick the Bruiser. I'm not muscles. I'm not jacked to the gills or whatever. I will just pound the crap out of you, kind of wrestler.
Yeah.
Everything we've heard, he's moving to NXT from NXT to NXT UK. I know he's with Imperium, so that made sense because they were over there, and then they had the match with Riddle and MSK. That was a whole, recently. Essentially, do you think the only reason I think he's going through NXT is to learn, and I'm throwing those air quotes up, the WWE style a little more before, because eventually he's got to go main roster, right?
I would hope so, just because I love Walter. The thing I always heard was he wanted to stay in Europe because he stayed at his home. He worked at a wrestling school there, but apparently he found a girlfriend on the big fancy American circuit. So he's going to come over here, work for NXT, and we're going to have to see how palatable he is to the American audience. People that are wrestling fans, but they'll love this guy. But people that are sports entertainment fans, it might be a little different.
Well, and that's, I think, first of all, finds a woman. It's undefeated. We'll leave it at that. Two, again, that's what I meant by come and learn the WWE style. Can he adapt, get a little more entertainment? Can they kind of work something out, figure those things out? Here's the thing, as far as what I would change is nothing. Like, I think he is who he is, and either it works or it doesn't, but I think he's been there long enough, and this is not going to be a popular opinion. They got to put him on the main roster. They got to find out if he's going to work or not, because if he doesn't, it's time to
Back to Europe.
Back to Europe or done. One of the two. Again, not a popular opinion. I don't particularly love it, but I think he's been there long enough, and they got to find out if their investments paid off.
This is actually looking like a professional sports team. With the way you've been talking about this the whole episode, you talk about Walter and all this. You're looking like guys that have to make the roster. It's the 40-man roster basically, and it's time to cut for the playoffs and stuff.
It's simple. Either you're going to perform and you're going to stay, or look, you'll get to go other places and work.
It's like cast members. You don't need all those extras, right?
Sometimes that is true. That is true.
Okay. I can work with that.
Thanks for the question, Rafe, by the way.
Oh, it was good to see you. Can't wait to see you again at WrestleCade. Hope we get to see you before WrestleCade.
He told me a big, you know what? I haven't told you this. When he sent me the question, he also told me something else about WrestleCade that you're not going to believe, but I'll tell you off air. Go ahead.
Last year's WrestleCade or next year's?
Just coming up, WrestleCade.
Okay, because I didn't know if there was anything else I hadn't remembered I did.
No.
I have a very good memory when I'm drinking, not when I'm sober, unfortunately. Kyle from Stockton, California. Kyle wants to know, how do you think AEW is handling and should handle the CM Punk MJF feud?
Well, I think overall they're handling it pretty well. I really like the whole, I really loved the gimmick they went with, Punk's now going to basically cost him every match. He's like, you're not going to win another match because he was undefeated. So, but then Punk interfered in the match. This is, by the way, we're recording Tuesday. You guys know how this works, the time travel, so we haven't done Wednesday. But essentially, he hit the GTS, go to sleep on Sean Dean to get MJF disqualified, and said, you're not going to win another match until you wrestle me. Basically, he's going to interfere in every match of MJF's until he gets in the ring with Punk because he doesn't want to wrestle Punk.
Okay.
So basically, I'm afraid of Punk. I'm not getting in the ring with you. Okay, well, then you're not going to earn a title shot when you keep having a losing record because you keep getting disqualified.
Fair enough.
And so I thought that part was well done. The only thing I didn't is, so they had this face-to-face, this face-to-face promo. I felt like Punk got punked by MJF.
Oh.
I felt like he kind of put it to him. I think he flabbergasted him a little bit. It threw him off his game. Okay, first let's go to two things. I want to sidebar onto a couple things here. One, I wish they would quit the WWE comments constantly. I think there's enough meat on the bone with those two that they don't need them. I get it when you feel like you need it, but I don't think they do. So that I wish they would cut down. Two, I think MJF has to in the end win this feud to take the star power of CM Punk to elevate even the future star even further. Even though, tangent off of a sidebar, I think people don't like me to say this. I was like, I've never been a Punk guy. I'm not saying I don't like Punk. There's an old saying that a friend of ours, Jack, and I came up with: just because I think you're overrated doesn't mean I don't think you're good. I've always thought that CM Punk's promos especially, I thought the promos were overrated because I feel like CM Punk has been riding on a promo that he did years ago that wasn't as great as everybody likes to say it was. The whole pipe bomb.
Damn, Nick.
Look, it's just my opinion. He was just one of the first guys to break the fourth wall, and everybody thought that was cool. So it was like, and then I also want to look at him and go, you do realize it was like, they were like, oh, it was unscripted. No, it wasn't. Like, if he was doing anything they didn't want, they'd have cut his mic off and he'd have been done for real. Like, they would have literally cut his mic off, cut him to a different scene, somewhere else in the building.
Kevin Dunn never would have put up with that.
Correct. So that was not unscripted. It was like, hey, like Paul Heyman has come out and said, like, even the shoot ones, when he shot on Vince, what are you going to say? Everything's fair game. Don't care. Just make me money. I kind of have a feeling it was the same way, but the take was, anyway, I think he's been living off of that promo. And when he came back, I even made the comment, if he had not been gone for 7 years, the mystique wouldn't be there had he never left. That's just my opinion, but I'm completely fair and honest in saying he has a mystique. He has a star power. As far as the general fan base goes, he's here. So I think MJF has to win and shoot to that next level, in my opinion.
Okay.
Just just one man's opinion.
One man's opinion.
Exactly.
Well, how about give us the opinion. Our friend Mitchell from Glen Rock, New Jersey wants to know, with the Ring of Honor announcing their return, how do you think they will do? Well, I'll believe it when I see it. It's
Myron, let's be fair. This one's not a long answer. If everything, they're going to run on focused on 3 titles, the men's, women's, and tag, all the other belts are going dormant. They're going to come back essentially in a non-contracted format, Super Indy. They're going to let their belts be defended on all the other shows. Like, we're going to adjust one in a minute.
Yeah.
If they're going to let their belts be defended everywhere else, it's like a Super Indy, whatever, they'll be fine. Like, I think with Sinclair money and recording, because I think part of the deal is, hey, we'll let you defend our title on your show or your pay, whatever, but we also get the rights to air that on our, weekly television.
Fair enough.
So I think there's enough money there that I think it's fine. That's just my opinion, right?
I think it's good. I think you're 100% right. We're going to see something new that actually was old. It's probably happened a million times before, but you're going to see these multiple championships out there in multiple promotions doing stuff. And that goes back to our next question. Tobias, do you ever watch Black Lightning? We got to talk about that later. Yeah. From Milwaukee wants to know, I loved Impact Wrestling Hard to Kill. What did you think, Myron, since I know you watched it? Myron loved it. I'm going to tell you flat out, Myron loved this. Okay? They had the Women's Ultimate X match, the first one. Bang-in match. Great stuff. It was a banger, as they say. I enjoyed that, okay? Jonathan Gresham and Chris Sabin for the Ring of Honor title, okay? It was one of their pure wrestling style matches. It was something apparently we're going to see Jonathan Gresham doing with his new promotion Terminus here in Atlanta on Sunday. Super excited about that. If I'm not able to make it down there, I'm going to buy it on Fight TV. Go through our website and get your fight credit. Give it a shot. This Impact pay-per-view had hardcore wrestling, which I like more than deathmatch, and it had technical wrestling in this match here. Probably one of my favorite matches this year so far. As far as I'm concerned, it's the 2022 match of the year for me. Your 10-man hardcore war, busting, great. The 3-man with Moose and Cardona and Morrissey was great. But Mickie James defending, and everybody's saying she's going to lose it because they're not going to say she's not going to come to the Royal Rumble as Impact champion. She's going to lose the Women's Championship. She did a Texas death match, to me, the only form of death match I watch. I was so impressed with her performance in that. Deonna Purrazzo is probably the future of women's wrestling, but it was great, folks. You'd love this. I'm gonna.
You watch every week. I want to ask you. I want to piggyback on Tobias' question here. Booker T on his podcast made a comment that Impact could potentially be making a move to be number 2, or they already are, because they looks like they're going to be focused a little bit on. They're going to be featured, I should say, in the Royal Rumble.
It could help.
They could help. I mean, they really? Now, look, I know they're on a bad channel, and let me ask you this: What if if this partnership led to them being on the network or the Peacock or whatever?
Well, then they're NXT basically 1.0. I don't know. I enjoyed the program. It's more like a wrestling program that I would have watched as a kid. It almost looks like a studio program with a little bit more pizzazz. You have crowds for your pay-per-views. You travel for your pay-per-views. This one was in Texas. I get, 3 or 4 $40 pay-per-views a year, and then I get a monthly special that's because I'm on the YouTube channel I get for free because I'm a YouTube subscriber. Impact has the content, and they have the stars, and they're able to go. As far as moving up to number 2, they don't have the money behind them the way AEW does. Now, Impact could cement itself in a solid 3rd position with all the changes going around with Ring of Honor and Game Changer now coming up to take Ring of Honor spot and all that going on, you could start seeing all these titles defended on Impact and Impact being featured more. It has the potential to be a much bigger promotion now with all this going on, and we'll see what it's like after, because they're not mincing words on Impact. They're talking about Royal Rumble, WWE Royal Rumble. Mickie James is going to be on the WWE Royal Rumble, and that's one thing I was looking for. They're not like,
well, WWE. I mean, Pat McAfee, she's the Impact, Knockouts champion. I'm like, it fully acknowledgement, and so I think maybe it's WWE's ready to wake up a little bit and play a little ball. So we'll see. We'll absolutely see. But man, let's keep it rolling into our favorite, right? Everybody loves to hear us chitty chat a little bit about the Georgia Indy Talk. Look, lots of stuff broke right before.
Wow, what a week. The furnace at my house went out last week. Fortunately, I used the heat off James Caleb Kitchens' Facebook to warm my family. It was quite the week. I appreciate all the videos I got sent, folks. The guys are sending me videos. I'm working through them, trying to watch out and get all those things in. A lot of submissions, guys, so it takes me a minute. I love Georgia indie wrestling. It's the thing that's kept me doing this. Just to be able to sit in the stands, shake the guy's hand, know some of the wrestlers. And I had to miss Southern Honor because of work, and I was heartbroken. Tell me about the show now.
You missed a hell of a show, man. It was a great show. I absolutely will tell you that. Let's see. Where should we start? So the big thing, of course, was, they had a great house with everything going on right now. That's a big, huge thing. I mean, you can see the stories developing and weaving, along the way here, especially with the main, with Joe Black, AC Mack, David Ali and Owen Knight. That story, they involved Danny. So we've kind of got that new era coming back, it looks like. There was a hot, Joe, tons, choking out Danny post-match trying to get a title shot, which Gary gave him to let her go. And it's funny that they really, amongst the things, trying to tell you what's. I think what's special about Southern Honor is just that they just keep, like I said, they're about as consistent as they come.
So they drew what?
350 plus. I mean, I always just like to say around.
Are they still the biggest draw in Georgia?
Listen, kudos, and I know everybody likes to do this. This time of year it's popular. You could make an argument KLT. I mean, they consistently were 4s, 3s, 2s. But they run a ton. Lots of good things that they're doing up there. I had a great conversation with their champion Skrilla at Southern Honor, and about things that they've got. I think they deserve a little more love than they get on a typical basis. And that's just and that's criticizing myself included. I think sometimes because they're all the way up in that corner, they get overlooked. But back to Southern Honor, yes, on a month-to-month basis, they consistently, I think it's not just attendance, it's also about the talent, it's also about the storylines and how they just keep flowing and keep going. We saw the return of the Lynch Mob, who's been gone for like 9 months, I think. My math could be wrong.
But it could have been quite some time.
Yeah, it's been quite a while. The fans, they erupted when they came out, like they kind of signaled they want a shot at technical excellence. I know they have to earn it. They've been gone a long time to walk back into the house and demand a seat at the table.
Yeah.
So that was cool. Cruel and Sal, Cruel got put through a table. Went bananas afterwards. That was a whole spectacle in itself. We got to see some new blood. Adam Priest was there. He worked that card. Kingsley and Ryan. Like I said, just lots and lots of, it was a good show top to bottom. There really wasn't anything to show that I was like disappointed with. The big thing, I sat and, kudos, I want to say shout out to Neil Pruitt, I sat next to him all night, and we talked and talked and talked and talked, about everything that was going on. Picking that dude's brain is awesome. So, that was fun to say the least. A great conversation to sit there and watch wrestling and like get his take on it and learn, amongst other things. But the show itself was top to bottom was really good. I think that you're going to want to come to the next show and see kind of where the next step goes. So just make sure you're checking them out. Give them a follow on the book. What's crazy? We're not on Facebook anymore. I can actually fucking say the name of the platform that we're on. I caught myself saying it because they will flag you if you say their name too much. But guess what, guys? We're only on YouTube now, so so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, we're trying to promote our show on Facebook, but we can't say Facebook.
Exactly. Blows your mind. But so now I'm sitting here thinking, like, wait a minute.
I can say COVID.
Right. Like now I forgot, like all those buzzwords we used to say that we couldn't say on Facebook, we can now say again, which is crazy.
Nick has a Vince McMahon list of words weren't allowed to say on Facebook. Like Facebook.
Right. If you say it too much, they would flag you, which makes no sense, but true. So anyway, Southern Honor, they're going to be the first of it, the first of the month, next month, and so forth. They've got some dates. Make sure you go to their page on Facebook and like it, because the dates come out. And I think it's March, April. They're going to run the second week, not the first week. So you want to stay in the loop on that. So let's jump into this weekend. First and foremost, Zicky Dice is running the show in the Action Building in Canton, where Southern Honor
fascinating roster he's got for this.
Yeah, it's a super indie show. I mean, let's be honest, it is what it is. I think it will be super entertaining. I think you should check it out if you haven't. Go to the website, zickydice.com, buy your tickets.
Running on a Saturday, too.
Running on a Saturday, not a Friday. And, use Gary Lamb as a promo code and get half off your tickets. But the scare is, will the shows happen? That's,
because what happened to make us wonder about that, Nick?
Literally minutes before we hit record, David Manders released a video, and it looks like he is canceling the Southern Fried show that was supposed to run this weekend. So that'll throw everything off. Because it was good and it was bad, right? Because we were just kind of like, oh, well, we were debating like, hey, where do we go? What are we gonna, which show are we gonna go to? Kind of makes it easy until they threw in the snow and the ice. That looks like it might move in. So then we're like, well, are we going to go anywhere? Because of snow.
Is Zicky's show going to be on Twitch?
It will be on Twitch. It will stream live. Yeah. I mean, here's the thing. I have every intention of going. Look, Zicky Dice is a great dude. Cool to hang out with, cool to talk with. And I want to support the show, obviously. So hopefully we can make that drive up there. If we can't, then we will watch it. Obviously, we'll watch it.
We may not be able to go through the mountain pass again. We might have to
exactly
go the main roads.
So all of that said, there's a lots of that going on. Then also, I did not make Anarchy last week. By the way, I was really kind of back and forth. I was trying to make it, but there was some stuff came up. I mean, here's my thing. Contrary to popular belief, people, there are other things like I am pulled in multiple directions. I have kids. I'm married. I have a job. You can't dedicate 24/7 to wrestling, even if you wanted to. I always tell people, there's a problem. Like if you don't have a full-time job in wrestling and you're doing stuff 24/7 for wrestling, then I worry about you. That's my whole thing. I'm like, okay, how are you? Don't tell me the struggle is real if you're not putting in the work for it not to be. Anyway.
I would have been there. I love Anarchy. I'd have been there Saturday night after work, but I'm still recovering from my heart procedure. I can talk again finally. That's a good thing. A little nervous. My heart rate's been sitting at 150 for a couple of days. Thankfully, we've got that down again, but I'm not at 100%. I may not go anywhere this weekend.
Right. We'll keep an eye on you. I'm going to keep the jumper cables with me just in case if you do.
I've had 18 shots from a defibrillator, Nick, in the last 2 months. I am an electrical man.
But I just wanted we want to give kudos and shout outs to the program, by the way.
Yes.
Who completely look like they're dominating Anarchy. Running roughshod, Scott Mason, the coach, Hunter James, the future legend, and of course Proc the Croc Johnston, the stud. It's no knock on the others, but like Proc's the stud of the group, future legend. Young rookie coming in, Hunter James, with the guidance and leadership of the veteran of Scott Mason. They are now your tag champs. I mean, you got Hunter's got an NCW title, Proc's the Anarchy TV champion. Scott Mason's your heritage champion. I mean, like, look, they're racking up all the goals. Yeah.
A lot of golden belts in that group.
Yeah, so I think they're probably, obviously, the future of Anarchy. So keep an eye out for those guys and everything. Apparently, that Dastardly Hansen, so it's the old, like, the light bulb switches when he walks through the Landmark doors. When he walks into the Landmark Arena, he's the evil Dastardly Hansen. He's not hold my beer. He's not the cool hold my beer. He's just Hansen.
Hold my evil.
Cut a scathing promo, and everything that you saw, that it was the the super evil promo, just like a heel should be. So kudos to Hansen for kind of. I think the cool thing about with wrestling is always is what do we always say? The bigger the baby face, the better the heel is when they turn them.
Yeah, and
I think that was a lot to be said for what they pulled off there. Up at Anarchy, so lots of cool stuff going on. But anything else from anything that you can think of, man? I mean, I know this weekend. I know Terminus was going to run. Same problem.
Yeah,
we'll see if they actually.
If I can't get down there, I'm gonna watch it on Fight. Need to talk to Dave Wills. That's a lot of his friends on that program there. Dave, how you doing, buddy? I ain't talked to you in a minute.
Yeah, shout out to us, Dave, man. I know you're listening, so give us a shout out. But yeah, Terminus, look, they put out those rules. We kind of, I have my pros and my cons, right? Because we talked about the rules. They're on Facebook if you want to check them out. Lots of things about 2 technical fouls and you're disqualified. There was a smart ass comment that actually I went, the guy's not wrong. One of the technical fouls is an intentional low blow. Okay, so if I get 2 of those, can the first thing I do is just run out to the center of the ring and kick the guys in the balls? Because I get 2. So just the first move of the ring, bam, just kick him.
Watch that match on the Impact show that had the pure rules. You're going to be looking. The thing I'm refreshed about this is you look at AEW where there's hardly any rules at all. And all of a sudden you've got wrestling with some rules. Like we grew up, dude. When we grew up, the wrestling was more rule-oriented than it is today. And it looked a lot like a wrestling match I would have seen when I was a kid. And I think you don't like the idea right now, but the more you get used to it, I think you'll like it.
It's not that I don't think I will like it. My concern is, will the casual fan base like it? Now, kudos, by the way, Terminus sold that show out, supposedly.
Yeah.
I went to their website. It would let me buy one general admission ticket at the time, but it wouldn't let me buy a 4-pack, a first, second, third row. Those were all sold out. So, Hey, listen, that's a great sign. Whether people want to
that's an amazing
give them
sign.
some love or not.
Because Atlanta doesn't draw.
And second part is, Myron, I don't know how big the building is.
Well, Ring of Honor was ran in that building several times, didn't they? And didn't draw at all.
AWE ran in that building. So that was kind of my, how big
No. We're talking about something else.
The Croc Center? It's the Salvation Army, gym.
Yeah. They've had they had a big name promotion run there a couple of years ago.
Okay. Evolve, maybe?
It was Evolve.
Evolve ran in there. That's who it was. Yeah, it took a second, but the light bulb came on. It was Evolve. But that's, we'll see. Well, that's it. Lots of stuff. You got options. Southern Friday, remember, canceled. I want to make sure we help get that word out. They canceled their show.
It's a weekend in Georgia, and there's wrestling everywhere.
Absolutely. Yeah, between, like I said, there's lots of stuff. Check out the Rob Rod Report on Facebook. Go to the Rob Rod Report, R-O-B, Rob Rod, R-O-D, Rob Rod Report.
The hardest working man in wrestling.
Yeah, he's doing all the work for you, showing you where all the promotions are running, so you definitely want to check it out. So check out the Rob Rod Report. He'll tell you where all the shows are running. That's, like I said, but there's always someplace you want to be. You want to make sure you're not, you could always like the Rob Rod Report so you see those. Come back. Make sure you're subscribing to us on any of your podcast players, Apple Podcast, iHeartMedia, Google Podcast, Spotify especially. I put a poll up the other day on Twitter about hey, where's your favorite? Is it Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube? Where's your favorite place to listen? Spotify and Apple Podcast are right there. So seems to be the 2 big ones. So make sure you're subscribing so you don't miss an episode, because you got to remember, folks, the video's not on Facebook anymore. It's only here on YouTube if you're watching on YouTube or listening onto the podcast platforms. But of course, if you were at patreon.com/tappedoutpod, you would have gotten the video and the audio both in one place and early. And that's the cool part about patreon.com/tappedoutpod. It's your one-stop shop for everything Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast.
Yes.
So,
amen. And special things early. Nick's got a couple of things he posts on a regular basis. The show comes out before you ever see it. You get to know all the secrets.
Yeah, lots of weeks we try to do the show. It's on Tuesday, so you usually have it Tuesday afternoon early. If it's some weeks with Myron, with your work schedule, we record on Wednesday, so we get it out Wednesday afternoon. But it is what it is. So that's everything I have. Well, you know what? Maybe not.
Maybe not.
Before we get out of here, I'm going to say something like, we do this show, and we started this show. It's been over 5 years. You think about that. Now we're almost to 5.5 years.
Yeah.
Now,
Mm-hmm.
like we started it in August.
Mm-hmm.
So we're at 5.5 years. We started as, everybody not remember, because most people haven't heard since episode 1, because we're episode 7.
I don't think anyone's listened since episode 1 except, well, no, I don't even listen to episode 1.
We did this for fun. It's always been about fun. If we could help somebody along the way, awesome. So that's what we are. I always joke with somebody. I saw somebody this weekend, and I'm like, why the fuck would you take what I said so seriously? Now, I'm not running you down. Like, I just it's my opinion and my thought. You shouldn't be everybody's like, well, this, that, and the other. Okay, Myron, we knew we weren't going to go there, but we're going to go there, right? Like, we aren't wrestling journalists. We do a podcast, but we do this for fun, and we do it to hopefully with help. Like, I got some cool ideas. Like, I'm going to start doing the match of the week on YouTube.
I have a degree in science. Oh, science. Not journalism.
If you take me as like a wrestling journalist, that problem is yours, not mine to own. That's what I told somebody. I said, that problem is yours, not mine, because, and first of all, it's fucking wrestling. Like, it is so subjective, that it is so opinionated that, and that's why I also go out of my way not to say anybody who gives you I've said this last week, anybody giving definitives about wrestling other than this guy wrestled that guy in this building at this time, like, when you start saying, like, this match was good, I'm like, okay, that's your opinion.
I'm a glorified movie reviewer.
That's it.
I'm Siskel and he's Ebert. Now, if you want to ask him about life insurance or comic books, that's a different story, because he knows that shit backwards and forwards.
It's all about business. Now, I can try to teach you good business, right, Skrilla? Shout out and love to Skrilla. I had a conversation with Skrilla. It was about business. It wasn't about wrestling. It was business. And I'm like, that's my take. If I give you that opinion, that part I would tell you to get more stake in. If somebody asked me what I thought of their match, this is what I thought of your match. I didn't say your match was good, your match was bad. I always say, I liked it. It wasn't for me. There's a difference, and there's a huge difference to that. So hopefully everybody can wrap their brains around that, that's what we are. Like, we've never claimed to be anything more than two fans doing a podcast. If you got more stake in that, that fucking problem's yours.
Gary gave me a hot dog one time.
Yeah.
That was one of the coolest things I've ever achieved.
One of my favorite quotes, and this is something I try to live by, and I read this yesterday, and it actually saved me from making a phone call that I'm glad I didn't make, because it wouldn't have went well. Van Wilder quote from Ryan Reynolds from the Van Wilder movie: "Don't take life so seriously, you'll never get out alive."
I thought Stone Cold Steve Austin said that.
No, that's Ryan Reynolds. He played Van Wilder in Van Wilder. That's a quote from him. He's like, don't take life so seriously, you'll never get out alive. Have fun. Shit's not real. Period.
I watched football with Robert Gibson one time.
Yeah. Enjoy the life and enjoy the moments. If you make something to, if you take it so seriously, you'll fucking have a stroke and you'll die. Right, Myron?
I didn't have a stroke.
I didn't say you had a stroke.
I had a atrial fibrillation.
Exactly. So we love all of the boys. We'll do our parts to help where we can. But remember who you're talking to, and remember what they can really do for you. That's my approach. That's what I tell people.
It says here on the computer, I'm a mark. Right there.
It says Myron the Mark, because that's what you are.
Yes.
So kudos, shout outs, much love. Hopefully we'll see some of the guy. We'll see some wrestling this weekend. If not, look forward to. I think I'm going to make the drive down to Action on the 21st. To the IWTV Super Show, whatever they're calling it down there.
I'll be at work.
Yeah. So thanks. I have to do that drive by myself. Fuck you.
Sorry.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Fuck you. Bye.
So with that all being said, Myron, if I've got nothing and you've got nothing, what time is it?
It's time to tap out.